Hello and welcome to the Paul White Show. We're glad you tuned in. We are on location today, and I'm going to tell you about some bees today. How about that? We're going to be talking about bees, so you stay tuned if you're interested in bees and even maybe some honey. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Paul White Show. We are on location today. I'm kind of adventurous, so I like to get out of the studio. Today we're visiting a beekeeper, and my beekeeper today is Jard Tennant. Did I pronounce that right,
Sir,
Jard?
that's right.
Okay, at least I got one thing right on the show today. Hey, thanks for inviting us and
Yes, sir.
letting us come out. We're gonna talk about bees today. How'd you get interested in being a beekeeper?
Honestly, it's just something that I wanted to do. Before I got into actually getting bees, I studied and researched about bees for about 4 years before I built the hive. Before I even went out to try to get any bees, I just researched it and kind of wanted to do it.
And got interested in doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know it's a lot of, it's not a whole lot of work, but it's a lot of procedures you have to go through to keep the bees. Now, your bees that you got, what type of bees are they?
I have what is called Apis mellifera. I probably butchered that pronunciation, but basically it's a American honeybee,
Okay.
or Western honeybee or European honeybee. Mine are feral, which means that they were caught in the wild.
Okay.
I didn't buy them or purchase them.
Right.
They were all caught wild.
Oh, okay. They reproduce evidently.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how long is how you got any idea about how many bees it could be in a colony? When you started out, I'm sure you didn't have. How many did you start out with?
Well, the first nucleus I had, I call it a nucleus hive because it's small.
Okay.
Probably had about maybe 6,000 bees.
Oh man.
And then from start with.
Okay.
So that's really, it sounds like a lot, but it's really not.
Okay.
Because that number has grown from 6,000 to probably about 30 or 40,000, maybe 50. And a colony, a mature colony, probably has about 50 to 60,000
Bees in
bees
the colony.
in it. Yes, sir.
One queen bee.
One queen bee. And sometimes there are exceptions where there's two, but that's very rare.
Oh,
Very
okay.
rare.
Okay. Now, if you separate them, do you ever separate them? And the other colony, or start another colony with some of those, say 50,000, and then they initiate a queen and like start all over again?
Well, what they do is they swarm.
Okay.
So what happens is the queen that's in the colony, she will lay an egg,
Okay.
lay numerous eggs. She
Okay.
lays about 2,000 eggs a day. And from her laying these eggs, the workers will pick one particular egg or a few particular eggs, and they'll make what's called queen cells.
Okay.
And this is how they reproduce. And they make a queen cell. The first queen will emerge. It takes about, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 15, 16 days. That queen will emerge. She will go around and she will pretty much destroy the rest of the queen cells.
Oh, okay.
And then once she emerges, she gets about a third of the hive, and they leave.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the old queen leaves.
The old queen leaves.
The new queen stays.
Oh, okay.
So she'll take a third of the hive with her, and then that's what they call a swarm. So you'll see sometimes bees may be like in a fence or on a limb,
Right,
and they're just hanging. Well, they just
hanging,
swarm.
right. Okay.
That's how they reproduce.
Okay.
So they're going to build another colony, and that's how they
Okay.
reproduce.
Okay.
So from that, we can make what's called an artificial swarm, and that's called a split. So before they get ready to swarm, what we'll do in the springtime is we'll take out so many frames of bees, and we'll put them into another hive or a nucleus hive, which is a smaller hive, and that way we can kind of manipulate the swarm from happening, so we don't lose our numbers,
Right.
but also we'll have other bees, other numbers. So you're constantly being able to multiply.
Okay, so that's how you build your.
That's how you build your apiary up.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. So that number don't really have a limit to it. You can keep building, keep splitting and building, keep splitting and building.
Yes and no. At some point, you're gonna probably have to introduce some different blood in.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, you're gonna have to introduce some different blood. But um, in theory, yes.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. Oh, okay. Okay. So you can do that in theory.
In theory.
I hear you. I hear you. Right. Right. Okay. Now you said you got interested in doing this. Been studying it for about 4 years.
Mhm.
But I'm pretty sure there's still a lot of stuff that can be learned about them as you go on. You know, in your individual with doing them, the bees. Now, the honeycombs that I mean the houses that I call them houses. You said they got different names and
Yes,
different
sir.
type of houses. How many houses do you deal with?
I have 2 hives that I deal with specifically.
Hmm.
Those hives are the Kenyan top bar hive,
Okay.
and the traditional Langstroth hive.
Okay.
Traditional Langstroth hive is basically a square box, so to
Okay.
speak, that's stacked, which has what we call 2 deeps, which is 19 and a half by 16 and a
Hmm.
half, I believe, as far as the dimensions on the
Hmm.
outside. And that particular portion of the deep has what we call it a brood chamber.
Okay.
It has a brood, which is the young eggs
Okay.
of the bees, and with that, that's pretty much how they build a colony. The queen will go in and lay, but we normally have 2 boxes of brood, and then from that we'll put what we call a super on top, and that's pretty much where you get your honey from.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of the Langstroth, a rough nutshell of how it is. The Kenyan top bar hive is a little different because instead of being a vertical hive, it's horizontal.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more economical to make. It's more so not necessarily a big producer, so to speak.
Okay.
With a Langstroth hive, your production can be up to 90 to 100 pounds of honey.
Okay.
Whereas with the Kenyan top bar hive, your production will probably be about a good 50, 60, 70
okay.
maybe, depending upon the dimensions and how you made it.
All right. All right, Jared, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. I'm visiting with the beekeeper. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Paul White Show. We're with the beekeeper today, Jared. Once again, thanks for welcoming us to your beehive here, your bee colonies. Now, we sort of touched on how you got interested in bees, but what did you have to do to get started and get set up? What did you do?
The first thing I did was I went to a few bee meetings with the South Central Kansas Honey Producers Association, Great Plains beekeepers. We meet at the Great Plains Nature Center.
Okay.
Went there a few times, met some people. I met this gentleman by the name of Richard Abel, and he invited me to his home, and I went and looked at some bees that he had, his different hives, and he allowed me to get a small nucleus hive, which is a smaller hive. I started with that, and then this other gentleman named Wes Welkin, he was doing a cutout in one of the apartments, I believe it was Fairmount Apartments in Wichita, and he told me basically, hey, I got some bees if you want them. All you have to do is come and cut them out. I'll tell you everything you need to do. If you want them, you can come get them. So I went. I never did a cutout before. I've only seen it on videos.
Right.
And I went and he showed me how to do everything. And when it was all said and done, at that night I had 5 gallons of bees, a 5-gallon bucket full of bees, and it just went from there.
So you transported them and
Yes, sir. I transported them on my trailer back here, and the
no
rest is
lid on
history.
them or nothing. They
Well, they
stayed
had a
right
lid.
in?
They had a
Okay.
lid. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. You put a lid on
Yes,
them.
sir.
So they wouldn't just fly everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. And then you had to reestablish them.
Yes, sir.
Here at your place. Oh, okay.
Yeah. What happens when you bring bees from one location to another location, they have to do what's called an orientation flight. So they will orientate themselves to the sun, based upon where the hive is. So from the hive to the sun, that's how they orientate themselves. And they'll go and they'll make little circles. They call it orientation flights.
Okay.
And they'll fly just so they can orientate themselves where they are.
Okay.
And that's how they get orientated to their new location.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
So they'll know when to come back. Don't want to stray away from that orientation that they do.
Yes, sir.
So everybody would get back in the hive, in the colony. Oh, okay. Do they just how many? Well, do you got any idea how many times they go in and out of the colony a day? You know, do they all come out sometime and just fly around, and then they all say 5 o'clock in the evening they all zoom back in the house, back in the colony?
I'm not sure exactly how many come out, but excuse me, the older bees actually come out and they go forage and look for nectar and look for pollen. And the younger bees, what they call the nurse bees, they'll stay in the hive and take care of the brood or the bees that are just about to emerge.
Oh, okay. Okay. Babysitting, in other words.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Exactly. So that's what they'll do, and they'll go out in about a 3-mile radius.
Okay.
So from wherever your hives are in a 3-mile radius, that's where the bees go
Your
out.
bees could be there.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. And that's when we see them pollinating our flowers and stuff at home, and that's real important for gardening and stuff, and they get pollen and stuff.
Yes, sir.
Out of the flowers and stuff.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But every bee we see don't belong to somebody in your flower bed, but
No.
they do have a place that they go back, they return to.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they could be in a tree somewhere.
Right.
In a
Wherever they get
wherever,
established.
yeah, wherever they can be established.
Right.
Even if it's somebody's hive or it's a wild feral hive.
Right.
Wherever they're going to be established, that's where they're going to go back to.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we mentioned, you mentioned several different type of houses. Well, you call them other than houses. For me, houses. And you built some of your own houses?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
3 of my hives, or 4 actually.
Okay.
Pretty much all of the hives that I have out now, I've built or had a hand in building a portion of it.
Okay.
All of the top bar hives, I built on my own. I did get help from one gentleman when I first started. After that, everything I just built on my own.
Okay.
So it's not complicated. It's actually pretty easy.
Right.
If you got even if you had a hand saw and that's all you had,
Okay.
It would take a little while,
Right.
but you could build a hive, a king and top bar hive with that hand saw. But if you got a table saw, most people have a table saw, most people have a circular saw. If you got that, then you can build a hive no problem.
It doesn't take.
Yes, sir.
And your hive can be, are there any sizes that you would like to keep them in proportion with how many bees you think you got?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
With the king and top bar hive, you really don't want to get it any bigger than 4 feet.
Okay.
So 48 inches. The width of it, you can play with a little bit.
Okay.
Some people, they have what they call honey cows, which is pretty much a king and top bar hive spinoff. It's just a 55-gallon drum cut in half.
Okay.
So it's pretty wide. So you get a little bit more surface area.
Surface area
Yes,
with
sir.
them, in the width, and you can get more bees in there because
And
of
more
the
honey.
width. Right, and more
Yes, sir.
honey. Yeah, evidently more honey. The bottom line, more honey. Okay, Jared, we're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we may be playing with some bees, okay? I hope I don't get stung. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Paul White Show. At the beginning of the show, I told you we was at the beekeeper's place, and Jared is our guest today. Right now, we're finna look at some bees and see what's in the hive, and look at the honey, or if they've produced some. So if I get stung and you hear us hollering, that's what the hollering is for. All right, Jared, we finna open them up now. You're smoking them, and we're gonna open it up and see what's in it. Okay, this is the top of this is just like the box that we just was talking about earlier on the ground. I see you got your slats in it, and we got to remove the slats out of it. As you notice, we're in beekeeper suits, so we shouldn't get stung. We probably won't get stung. If the queen bee is friendly this morning and don't sick the hive on us, we'll be all right.
Oh, we should be all right.
There's a hive coming out. What you call that? What, Jared, right there? That's a honeycomb.
Honeycomb, but it's a top bar.
That's the top part.
Yeah, this is a top bar with the honeycomb on it. This is right at the entrance. Right at the entrance.
It looks like there's a little honey in there.
Yeah, they actually been putting nectar in. Right. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of real wet. That's nectar, so they putting it in there. That's a good thing. So we'll put them back in. Gotta be kind of gentle and just, you know, be a little patient. Real easy.
Now they won't leave, they won't get very far from this. Right now they're swarming because we disturbed them, but they won't get very far from here now. They probably want to go back in.
Okay, I'm gonna have to take one of my spacers out down here.
Oh, okay. To relieve some of the tension on it.
Yeah. So I can get just a little bit more room. This sticky stuff is like glue. This is what we call propolis. I'll show you some of that here in a second. And it's got antibacterial, antifungal properties to it.
Oh, okay.
So it's good stuff. But it's glue. It's bee glue, in other words.
All right.
A little bit more.
That one's got a few more bees on it than the other one had. I think you had more space bringing them out. So a lot of them didn't get knocked off of that one like they did the other.
And they are filling this with nectar.
They're filling it with nectar.
Okay.
It's turning kind of brown.
Bring this over just a slight bit closer. I don't know if you can get a...
Oh, I'm close.
All right.
How often do you check these?
Really about every 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
But it also depends on the season.
Right.
You know.
So this is just like the one we showed earlier. So you can see how the slats, I call them slats, work inside of them. Like the one that you just built that you're not quite through with.
Yes, sir. Try to get a little bit more room.
There's that big gap here. I don't know if you can screw them down anymore.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to work my way back.
Now the honey in here is underneath what we're pulling out now, looking at.
No, actually the honey will be, I'll have to show you. Like this next one I'm gonna pull out has honey on it.
Okay.
I'll show you what that looks like, you know, with the, take that one out. Give us a little bit more room. Okay. Now this one here has a little honey, but it's not completely full.
Right.
the top portion of that,
Okay.
where you see it's kind of white,
Right.
that is called capped honey.
Okay.
In the back,
Yeah.
that's capped honey. So you would either scratch that or press it to get the honey out. But before you did that, you would wait till this whole bar is full.
It's completely full.
Completely full and looking like that.
Okay.
All right,
Now,
here's
how you-
another one that's the same. I'm sorry.
Oh, you fine. How you get the bees to leave it alone where you can scrape it and press it? And can you reuse it after you squeeze the honey out of it or press the honey out of it?
Well, you can reuse it as far as, you know, using it in another product. Like if you wanted to make lotion or lip
No,
balm.
I mean the
Oh, as far as in here, no.
yeah.
They'll rebuild it completely.
Okay. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So you can't just press the honey out of that and the honeycomb and then reuse it.
No, sir.
Okay.
Not with this particular hive.
Okay.
With this hive, you could do that, but with the way I have it set up, I want them to produce new comb.
Combs. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
In order to get them off, you use what we call a bee brush, which is this.
Oh, okay.
In the Langstroth hive, they use a chemical which smells like almonds.
Okay.
Some of it does. And they'll put it on a felt board, and the bees don't like the scent of it, so they'll leave the frames alone.
Right.
So
And you can hear them buzzing around your ears.
oh yeah. See, this comb here slightly attached to the sides.
Right.
We'll just take our hive tool and go like that. Kind of unattach it from the side there. That way, when we pull it up, we don't break the comb. So now that I have it loose from the side, I can pull it up. If you want to hold this,
Right.
you can see how heavy it is with that honey.
Oh yeah. And that one's pretty. That one's pretty near full.
Yes, sir.
It's over halfway full. You only got about 3 inches at the bottom of it to go before it be completely full of honey. Yeah, that's got some weight to it.
So this hive is actually doing really well.
Right. So it probably take what, another 2 weeks it'll be solid?
Yes, sir. Just smoke them down a little bit. Some people don't really like to use smoke, but I like to take advantage of it.
Right. Okay, Jared, is there anything else you need to tell you? We're kind of running out of time here.
So that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank you today for having us out and showing us about bees. You know, I'm going to have to get you to come over my place and maybe we can get some bees established and set up there when you split. If you get too many of them, you know.
Yes, sir.
Maybe we can get another colony. Now, do you sell your honey?
I do sell it.
Okay.
I sell it for $7 for, I believe it's 7 ounces, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to get some of it in the store so people can come by and buy your honey right there at P&P Seed and Bait at 1901 East 21st. So we'll have to figure that out.
Yes, sir.
And this would be pure raw honey.
Yes, sir.
Right here
No
in
chemicals.
Wichita. No chemicals. All right. Well, thank you for joining the Paul White Show today. And I didn't get stung. How about that? So Jared took good care of me today. All right. We'll see you next week on the Paul White Show.